Thank you so much, friend, for joining me today. Thank you so much for your prayers and support for this ministry. I continue to give glory and honor to our Father, the only true God, and to his only begotten divine Son, Jesus Christ. Today, I would like to ask this question. Is the Seventh-day Adventist Church going down the path of being graceless? What do I mean? Is the church a hypocrite in terms of preaching grace, but do not apply grace? Now, this is the subject matter of this Seventh-day Adventist member, who is the writer for Advent Messenger, and he asked this question in the news conference during the GC session. Let us hear the encounter.
Andy Roman, Advent Messenger. Congratulations, elders and pastors, to the new role. Today we witnessed motions to amend our Constitution, our bylaws, and our church manual. These documents are not immutable. We've seen revisions take place. If these documents can be amended, certainly the policies adopted by ADCOM, which many of you will be involved in, certainly ADCOM statements can also be revised. So my question is this: can we show grace and maybe take another look at ADCOM's document? Well, the ADCOM document that made it hard for many members to get certain exemptions based on religious beliefs during any future pandemic.
I'll address that one. Which document are you referring to exactly? The 2015, I presume, vote? Well, 2 or 3 times from the floor, we've had attempts to amend that document or to discuss that document at a general conference session, and which is a much higher body in terms of its reach for obvious reasons. And 3 times the delegates decided against discussing it or any attempts to amend it. So that is the wish of the body in general. Would the delegates had the opportunity to discuss it, that very statement? And should they have decided to do it, we would be doing it. It would have been added to the agenda if any of the motions passed, and we would be discussing it. The delegates decided against doing that, and that's the will of the general conference in session. And again, the beauty of a representative democracy. Thank you.
So the issue was this Trinitarian Andy Roman appealed, or I should say, he wanted to bring to the attention of the elected leaders to amend the 2015 document, but the reasoning of the media person, the PR guy of the Seventh-day Adventist, is it was voted by the delegates. I don't know if that is accurate or that is the truth, or honestly, was it exhaustive delivering on the floor, or they are just persuaded that they need to be vaccinated. So what's interesting about this is the author, and I'd like to share this with you. He said this: so naturally, on Sunday, July 6, 2025, when I met some of the newly elected general vice presidents, those who have the authority to shape ADCOM and revise its documents, I appealed for a simple act of grace. I appealed to ADCOM, not the general session of delegates, for a small revision, a compassionate accommodation for members who sought religious exemptions at their jobs, schools, and other situations, but were denied because of the 2015 document on vaccinations. I was appealing in behalf of members who served faithfully, believed deeply, but who suffered real pain. I appealed to a church known globally for its humanitarian aid, compassion, and tireless advocacy for religious liberty, but for its own, there was none. I appeal to a church that so often preaches love, mercy, and grace, hoping it might extend a measure of that grace to its own, but none was given. I left that press conference sorrowful and deeply disturbed in spirit. As I walked the hallways of the session, I prayed. I prayed even more as I encountered friends and supporters who follow us online. I asked the Lord to help me hide my emotions and relieve me of my sorrow. Let me tell you this, my fellow Seventh-day Adventists, the Lord will never withhold grace. He will never stop extending mercy, compassion, and strength to those who seek Him. Whatever crisis we may face, if we remain connected to Him, only He will carry us through. He alone has promised to keep us in the days to come if we will trust in Him. Well, my counsel for Andy Roman is to examine the history of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, the true roots, the departure of the General Conference, the rejection of the General Conference, of the pioneers' principles. And maybe he will understand the context of the great apostasy that is not only present today, but it has been in the works since the death of Sister Ellen G. White. And today, those who are um, calling for changes, they will not be allowed by the church. So the church is steeped and firm in its apostasy. Now, there is this observation from this um, left-leaning media outlet in the Seventh-day Adventist Trinitarian system. So we all know that you cannot be a member of the church if you do not profess, confess, submit to, and worship the triune God of the Seventh-day Adventist, God in three persons, which is not scriptural. Now, what is alarming is that they wanted to control the membership and also wanted to impose money as a requirement, tithes and offerings, to be in good standing and also to be elected as an officer. So let's go first to this comment of this left-leaning woke Trinitarian Seventh-day Adventist outlet. Membership, according to Lauren Siebel, the author of this left-leaning. I'd like to give you the perspective, and Andy Roman is somewhere in the fundamental right. This author now here is fundamental left, meaning more of the liberal loose, and the other is conservative traditional. So let us hear from this woke. He wrote here, I was at first a bit concerned about this change to the church manual. It is called Redemptive Membership Review, and it encourages churches to sort through their membership and keep it up to date. Now, some churches love to get rid of the dead wood, as the saying goes. Others are terrified that the conference is going to see that 30 people are in church, even though they have membership of 200, meaning in the books 200, but in the actual pews, 30 people. And the conference might take their pastor away because the distribution is based on your income. So I'm not sure many churches are going to do anything different unless the conference pushes them. They say that the concern is membership reconciliation. That is, members who somehow end up going to one church and members in another, or even get recorded into churches sometimes. Well, in my case, my membership is still with Chino Valley Chinese Seventh-day Adventist Church in Chino, California. And now that I am speaking against the Trinity doctrine, I'm just waiting for them to disfellowship and to perhaps to get rid of me. And I have expressed my desire to be so, given the opportunity to speak, and I'm waiting for them. But in this case, let's be honest, according to this author, the whole notion of membership is a mess, of course, because membership includes counting of money, tithes and offerings. Many people really don't value it. When I was a parish pastor, according to this author, I didn't make a fuss about whether people were members or not, as long as they participated some way. But the truth is, it is still used in many calculations by our judicatory, such as insurance, pastoral assignments, and at one time goals, such as in gathering our magazine subscriptions. Well, he did not mention the if you are in a district where there is an academy or Adventist school, you're also being taxed or being required to contribute. Well, he is saying, the author is saying, I always try to find missing members. I have a memory at night wandering around on country roads in Appalachia in the dark trying to find a member. It was kind of scary. I found a mobile home way out on a dirt road and was a little afraid to knock. They have guns out there. The trailer house was empty. I never did find her. I hope that the church manual change will encourage pastors and church boards to do that. I've heard horrible stories of church members suddenly unexpectedly getting a letter that they were disfellowshipped from membership. For some, possibly imaginary trespass. Other times, they were supposedly lost when no one looked for them and they were housebound for some reason or active in another church. That's a horrible thing to do to people. Well, in my experience, in my years as minister in the Seventh Adventist Church, this is a very tricky situation. The membership, the counting of the heads, and the actual people who are worshiping on Sabbath and also going on Wednesday. The conference is very particular of baptism and tithes. So the membership should be, should be current. But the problem is if you try to clean up, so to speak, or to get rid of those members who are not there anymore active, then you have a big problem with distribution of pastor. That's just the system failing itself. In the Seventh Day Adventist, it's padding. It's more of putting just status quo so that the balance of power, the money flows, will not be affected, especially the pastor's position in a certain church. So according to him, that the section to be changed was accepted. So here he continues. Another related change was started by encouraging people to transfer their membership when they move. This line concerned me a bit more, though. Careful consideration should be given by the granting church and the receiving church to ensure that members in the process of being transferred are living in harmony with the fundamental teachings. What's the fundamental teachings of the Seventh Adventist Church? Trinity and related practices of the church. That's why you cannot be a member of the Seventh Adventist Church if you are not professing, confessing, at least accepting that God is a unity of three co-eternal persons, and then they will baptize you and you will become a member. If, however, you don't agree with them, and if you are silent, you might still be considered, a nominal member. But if you begin to speak, and if you begin to teach and preach, or even convince others, then that is a different story. You'll be subject to discipline and or procedure that will start the removal process if you don't jettison or get rid of your non-Trinitarian views. As what happens to many of us, we will be asked to leave. If not, they will forcibly call the police so that you will leave. And by the way, they will do that with the church board or business meeting to make you feel you're not welcome anymore because now you have changed from Trinity to non-Trinity. By the way, James White was a non-Trinitarian, including Alan G. White. So it is required to be a Trinitarian. Now let's go to money. I'll not read the whole thing, but I'll just give you an idea of what they are talking about. I'm not going to note every change in this section. Suffice it to say that there is more stuff on money or stewardship than any other topic in this church manual changes. More than 50% of their agenda is about requiring people to put in the tithes and offerings, money for short. The overarching idea that it is encouraging the giving of tithes and offerings as part of worship and part of the spiritual life. Folks got sidetracked about taking 3 lines from Acts of the Apostles out of the manual because it's quoted elsewhere. Really, this is the level of what we're doing here. editing with 1,700 of the 2,800 delegates. Okay, now we're editing changes about the Sabbath school offering because, several young people objected to this cause because it seemed to make salvation dependent upon tithe. And recognition to the biblical plan and the believer's experience of salvation, all are encouraged to faithfully return a tithe. Here you go. And 1/10 of the increase our personal income into the denomination's treasury. That is in the manual that they're debating. It was sent back to the committee, and rightly so. This was what happens when we give our young people a voice. I doubt if this will even be changed, because the church is teaching that money is the lifeblood of their evangelism. And of course, money is used to feed and to maintain the pastoral staff and also the overhead of the church. So they voted for the division presidents of the Seventh-day Adventists. And according to this guy, I like Barna Magyaruzi. He appeared in the presentation lineup in denim jeans, meaning he's the only one who is not wearing a suit. Well, he has a suit, but his pants he was observed in denim jeans. So that was hilarious. So whether you're in the left or whether you're in the right, inclined to be traditional or conservative, inclined to be loose or liberal in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, doesn't matter as long as you worship a false God Trinity, you are still participating in the apostasy of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Is the Seventh-day Adventist Church today becoming more and more graceless and more focused or centered into the structure, the kingly authority of the General Conference leadership? Are we emphasizing more of the soul of the Old Testament, soul being the first king of the people of Israel, the kingdom of Israel, as they departed from and they rejected God and wanting to be like the other heathen nations to have their own king? And then David follows, and we know the history that the church that the Israelites, the kingdom of Israel was divided, and the apostasy, the idol worship. Is the Seventh-day Adventist Church becoming graceless? Is the Seventh-day Adventist Church becoming a place where hypocrites are being applauded, pretenders are being accepted, while those who ask sincere questions and would like to be faithful to the Word of God are being asked to leave in this fellowship? You be the better judge always. But in my experience in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, yes, I have to admit that there are so many leaders in the Seventh-day Adventist Church who are playing politics and who are not necessarily having the the compassion, the sympathy, and the love for truth or for God's people. They had to adhere to the policy and guidelines of the higher ups, the General Conference. It's time to leave. It's time to pack up. It's time to quit. It's time to come out. And let us reframe the meaning of church. The church is not the organization of the SDA. It used to be. The church today is filled with unclean spirit. That's why there are people who are living with a grieving spirit, because they don't know who the Holy Spirit is. They think the Holy Ghost should be worshipped as co-eternal, co-equal. You cannot, you must not worship a ghost, whether it's holy, good, or faithful. You are not to praise a ghost. You are only to praise and worship the only true God, our Father, who gave us his only begotten Son. Even Jesus said, pray like this, not to the ghost, pray to the Father. He is holy and he is the Spirit. He is a being. He's the Father of all. And he's the God, and he is the true God of Jesus Christ. The question is, do you believe that there is only one God? And do you believe that there is only one begotten Son? No one else like them. And if you do so, and if you speak and begin to accept and teach this to the church, you will experience what I'm saying, that the church indeed has become graceless, lacking Christ-likeness because they have rejected the Spirit of Christ. May God our Father continue to bless you and His only begotten divine Son, Jesus Christ, be gracious to you